Mario, this is, by the way, a team that came back from 2-0 down to win a game. Is it fair from Pep Guardiola to criticise his players like this?
Guardiola is very intelligent. When he talks, you have to also understand that the mindset of a coach that's really good is psychologically also at a level that is very good. He talks like this because this is not the first time he said this. Eh? A couple of seasons back, he said the same thing. He wanted more of his fans. He wanted more noise because he was going at it, like you just mentioned, with Liverpool. Now, this moment comes again. He knows that he needs more out of his team to be able to participate in the race in trying to win this league again. He's that close. He knows he's that close, but he had to turn things around because the game against Spurs could be a big surprise. But he knows himself. If you want to compete with it, you need to make sure. I mean, he had a player like Mahrez. What he did yesterday was incredible because, hey, when you have a winger that can go, I always say that when you go in and outside as a winger, then you become dangerous because some just keep it safe and only go inside. But that's why I say just as overall as a team, he's just motivating them, just getting them ready, take the heat to himself, complains a little bit, but believe me, when it comes down to making his team the way he wants them to play, he will tell them personal things, but he also makes sure that whatever he wants us to know, he brings out to the open, and the rest he keeps to himself because he's not going to share everything.
Frank, can you see a drop-off in City? Do you think that they are getting a bit complacent?
Well, I think Pep Guardiola, as the result of what he created, he wants players. And players sometimes gamble. What did Ederson on the first goal? I can tell you, Shaka Hislop would have never done that. Why? Because he would have kicked the ball away, you know? What did Rodrigo on the second goal? It would never happen because Mario Melchiot with me or myself would have kicked the ball in the stands instead of trying to chip the ball over Kane. That's what you have when you try to play a little bit too much and you put your players in a frame of mind where instead of going for the emergency, sometimes they go too much and they try to be too much effective in the way of playing the game. And on top of it, being successful makes your fans sleeping. The fans that we had at Chelsea in 97, it was 96, 97, are not the same that we have now because of the amount of success that they had. You go to Newcastle, where I think you have the best atmosphere. It's why? Because they're starving. They want to have something. They want to have silverware. And maybe at some point when Newcastle is going to be famous, going to be successful, they're going to get sloppy as well. So it's a little bit of the result that he has. But I like the way that he says it because it's a wake-up call for everybody. But yesterday, there are some players that had a very good game. You know, on top of Mahrez, I think Ake was almost the man of the match for me. With the game that he had yesterday, I never seen Ake playing that well. So it's not everybody. I think some people were sloppy, but not everybody. And I think that team is so strong. Remember that I say that I think Arsenal is going to drop. It's because the pressure from City is going to come out, and they know how to handle the end of the season. At the contrary of the Gunners, I think.
Did you notice that he brought up 1997 again there?
I'm starting to think it's Frank, you know.
Can't believe you, Frank.
You know, it's amazing when we have sort of selective criticism, right? And when we tend to like a manager or appreciate a manager more so than we do another. Had this been Jose Mourinho and said this in a press conference, the message would have been delivered differently. It would have been more confrontational, and so therefore we would be saying something along the lines of, well, here is Jose Mourinho. He is captain de facto. He's putting this on his players. He's exposing his players, making the players vulnerable, exposing the players to the media, to the fans. And we would have criticized this. Because it's Pep Guardiola, and because in the manner in which he is delivering the message, and it's playful but serious, intense but self-deprecating, we kind of go, yeah, this is good managing. It's the same message in many ways. And the message that he's sending his players, which I'm sure he has communicated directly to them before he even said it in this press conference or mentioned it, is, look, people, we are as good as we want to be. Us, as good as we want to be. If we take it for granted, teams are good enough to compete against us and beat us. So if we want to achieve the great things that we think we're capable of achieving, we have to bring it every day. Doesn't matter what we have achieved in the past, as good as we were, it doesn't matter now. That doesn't win games for us. And so if that message needs to be put across to players like Kevin De Bruyne, so be it. The fact that Kevin De Bruyne is not playing in a game like this says a lot, but it's also the willingness of Pep Guardiola in saying, I don't care how big of a player you are, I'm going to get my message across. I make the decisions, and I need your very best. If you're not willing to give me your very best, you're going to sit right next to me.
To that point, though, I think he addresses some issues within the City team that have been glaring. And we've spoken about here. A couple of weeks ago, you talk about Erling Haaland dropping deep to get on the ball. Here he's saying, Erling, we have one runner. You're that man. Don't come back here. And I think that's the right thing to say, especially to a young striker. For all the records that Erling Haaland has already broken and will break, he's a young striker. And that is exactly the thing that Pep Guardiola is trying to say to him. And why, again, I think you take what Guardiola says differently is because he has a style of football that he wants his team to play, and he's going to stick by it. He's going to die on that hill. To that point, Ederson gives the ball away cheaply for the opening goal, but that's what he wants his goalkeepers to do. To that very point, Ederson takes an equally risky pass out to the back in the build-up for City's second goal. That's what he wants. He will die on that hill, Pep Guardiola, and you have to give him that. Again, calling players out. He's saying, we have a free kick. We have 9 players in the Spurs box. Against a team, now we can level all sorts of criticisms at Spurs. They are a very good counter-attacking team if you give them that opportunity. If you have a free kick against Spurs, you don't put 9 men in their box. You're playing to their strengths. And what he's saying is, as a team, if we are to achieve the heights that we expect to, more so than just winning 4 out of the last 5 leagues, if we are to go on and continue to win and build on our successes, we have to be able to identify those situations on the park. And I think that's exactly the message that this City team needed to hear, because otherwise they can get caught up in their own successes.
Well, thank you very much for watching ESPN on YouTube. For more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for live streaming, premium content, and let's not forget as well, ESPN FC 7 days a week. Subscribe to ESPN+.